It is a timely bunch. Everybody's like
We this
logging
this this
in.
is I'll tell you, this is a great group, professional grade. Welcome everyone. I never get tired of saying Happy New Year. I know it's almost the end of January, but I haven't seen many of you, and it's just great to be able to start any greeting with happy. So Happy New Year. Welcome to 2026. I hope it's been going well for everyone so far. We want to jump in this evening. We have a full agenda with some great speakers. But first, I just had a couple of housekeeping items I just wanted to share with everyone. Last week, I sent out your financial reports, and along with your December financial report, I did let you know that we're going to be scheduling check-ins again this year, just to give you an overview on what's going on at NCFF, hear about your priorities, see how we can help you. And we're going to make those either virtual or in person, daytime, evening. So thank you to those of you who've already gotten back to me. And the rest of you, I will be reaching out to see what works best for you, just to make sure we can start off the year by having that check-in again. And then secondly, we had reached out about a grant opportunity from PG&E for small grants for fire safe councils, and we have been working on that as well. Thank you to those of you who submitted. We're also combing through the CWPPs, working with our grants team, working with our veg team. I just wanted to let you know we're still gathering data, and I don't have an update on that. But as soon as I do, I'll be sure to reach out to everyone. So I know I had a couple questions on where we were at in the process, and we're still gathering project information. So those were the two main updates I wanted to share out the gate before I turn this over to Stephanie Smithers, who's going to be speaking about the Give Guide Beacon Box fundraiser. And then we're going to have updates from Fire, followed by guest speaker Sheriff Oscar Ortiz, who's going to talk to us about evacuation planning and tools. And then any updates from all of you as well. So just to keep us moving, I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie to talk about the fundraiser that all of you participated in last fall.
Thanks so much, Lori. I hope everyone's doing well. I think Lori's probably alluded it feels the beginning of 2026 feels very busy, but in a really good way. It does seem like there's this energy where there's a lot of like good change, action ahead, responsibility. A lot of people having programs or wanting to take programs. So there's kind of this responsibility and momentum, and that's all overlapping. And I particularly feel very inspired by it. And so I'm thankful for all of you guys and your partnership with Napa Firewise. And I think 2026 is going to be this incredible year that we've seen a lot of action come to fruition, protect the progress that we've made. So I look forward to continuing that with you. If we want to go to the next slide, Sherry. So my beacon box update is going to be really simple. If we want to get to the next slide, there it is. So in total through the campaign, we raised $30,250. And so this has been fantastic. And so I thank you for those of you who participated, made gifts, asked your neighbors to make gifts, asked businesses to make gifts. So this includes, gifts made through online or through contributions like checks that came in through your Fire Safe Council lead, and then also some box sponsorships. And so we're estimating that we're going to be able to install 12 boxes. There's still a little funding finish line that's happening with the Fire Safe Council and then one of our sponsors. So I say estimating because I don't have that final count. We're just kind of funding it. We have a Fire Safe Council who fundraised for a box, but they separately, we're fundraising and think they want to do more boxes. And so we're looking at that execution strategy. What we did was we connected with each of the battalion unit chiefs and asked them to identify their top five-ish critical need boxes. There's a greater need to kind of look at like, hey, if you had infinite number of boxes, like what would you do? But just for the purpose of this exercise, we just wanted these top critical boxes and assuming what we would be able to fundraise for. And then taking the list of those boxes from each of the battalion unit chiefs, working with the Napa County Fire chief on then prioritizing those. Again, we want to look at making sure we've got some coverage across the county, but then what are those, top few boxes within each of the units? And I sort of hate saying that we have to prioritize a location because they're all priorities. So I do want to make that very clear. They're all priorities. I think that in conversations with each of these battalion unit chiefs, it was like, what do you mean I have to tell you what's more important than the other, right? Like that's not really the way that they're thinking about it. But there is some sort of exercise of prioritization required because we have a funding limit. So we're finalizing that. Three of our fire safe councils did do the efforts and fundraised and are going to guarantee a box within their FSC boundaries. And so that's something I think that we were pretty clear about from the very beginning is that people could make gifts through the give guide and designate for their FSC. And so we had you know, just about half of the total gifts made had a designation towards a fire safe council. So that was something that seemingly was easy for people to do. We did have fire safe councils do it, and then they're ensuring that they have a box within their FSC boundaries. The exercise with your local battalion unit chiefs, we didn't ask them to consider the FSC boundaries because fire doesn't know boundaries. They got to look at their unit as a whole, and then the deputy county fire chief is looking at all three units combined within our county. So I just kind of want to give you that sort of what was the lens that they were asked to do within their unit. So that sort of giving you what's the next step. So we are moving, from the fundraising and planning stage into implementation. So that's shifting from communications development. So like from my team, sort of build the campaign, deliver some collateral, get the funds in, organize. It's going to shift over to the wildfire preparedness team, which is your fearless leaders, Lori and Sherry. And so I'm kind of passing them on to Flame Mapper, which is the developer of Beacon Box, and then with the the fire authority to like finalize those locations and then look at the mapping exercises. We are hopeful that, by the end of February, we'll be able to share information and a press release of like, this is where the boxes are going to go and go from there. I do know that the Spring Mountain Fire Safe Council, they had received some PG&E grant funds to install a few boxes, and then they fundraised and they got more boxes. And so I do want to work with the Spring Mountain Fire Safe Council because this process has been a little bit slower for them than we have had so far. And again, you're all volunteers stepping up for your communities. Whereas, I'm a staff member of Napa Firewise, so I have a lot more time to kind of push these campaigns through. But we also want to work with them and support them to help kind of move their box installation along as well. So I'd like to open it up for any questions. I hope that you feel like you understand where we are in the process with the Beacon Box. And again, I thank you for your participation and everyone who stepped forward to make this happen.
Yeah, so I have a question. I think it would be very helpful to have a written plan that could be shared with when we're fundraising, that we could explain the whole program and where they might be placed and how they're going to be updated. And so I think there's an communication opportunity here to make sure that as we try to push this out into the community as a valued resource, that we have the right tools to explain it. And I know that the basics of what is a beacon box, that's pretty well documented, but how they would be applied within the county, I think is an opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. We often don't share our playbooks with people, right? And I think like our playbooks could be shared with our leads and then, better communicate and allow you to be advocates on how are these used in a practical fashion. So it's like we've got the beacon box. Now what, right? Like what happens when it's accessed or in the case of an incident? How is it being utilized from incident command to the responder level? And so forth. So I appreciate, that feedback, and we've got an internal playbook, and so I'm happy to clean it up and make sure it's not scribbles and share with all of you.
Sounds great.
Glenn?
I said, sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, great. Nice to see you.
Stephanie, this is Jason Freyer. There was some conversation in the last meeting about the contents of the box. And I thought that it was a pretty good idea to talk about cross-pollination when it comes to different fire safe councils, and the content that we're going to be putting in boxes where it might have a shared corridor. And then we talked about maps, and what kinds of maps that we're going to be putting in there. And another thing that was brought up because of this was QR codes and access. Because most of the fire engines are going to be equipped with Starlink coming in the 2026 operational year. And so that's going to give folks the ability to download operational maps or pre-fire maps or whatever content we want to put in those. But also with that in mind is discretion. A QR code being on there, we might need to have some fail safe so that, I don't know if we do want to have any discretion, but just a thought when it came to access and what we're putting in those.
Thanks, Chief. That's great feedback. And one of the things, as we know through Flame Mapper, has developed this concept of the beacon box and the contents of the box. We're working closely with Flame Mapper and looking at, those things. And Flame Mapper has a lot of boxes in more like metropolitan areas where there could be, 1,000 homes in a few square miles. Whereas in Napa County, like you might have 1,000 homes, in a unit, or that might be a little off. But it's different, like how we address the rural versus like a major population center. And so that's something that Lori and I, and, we have more conversations with the battalion chiefs ahead, and then looking at kind of integrating with that fire safe council level of some additional information. So I want to just say there's more work to be done. These boxes aren't going in tomorrow, right? There's some more work to be done because it's critical they're done right, and that the process to keeping them updated is effective and efficient. So I welcome, if you don't want to ask a question in the group, you can send me an email as well, Stephanie@napafirewise.org. Okay. The crickets mean there's no more questions. So Lori, I'll pass it back to you. Thank you guys for letting me hop on this evening with you.
Thanks, Stephanie. We really appreciate your efforts in getting that campaign going, and we're super excited on the next stages. So thank you again. With that, Sherry, if you want to move over to our next presentation, we are going to have Jason Freyer has kindly agreed to join us and provide us an update. So we're going to turn it over to him. And I also created a quick slide so you can see that the county is divided up into 3 units. And I don't know if Chief Freyer, you want to speak to that and your unit, but just to let people know that different fire safe councils fall within different units across the county.
Yeah, thanks. So the division that we have is all of Napa County, as well as a couple of portions of the state responsibility area within Solano County. And it's broken up into 3 battalions. It's the St. Helena Battalion, the Napa Battalion, and the Lake Berryessa Battalion. And we all have our own respective fire safe councils, like you were saying, that fall under our geographic areas. Now, in saying that, the boundary lines for fire safe councils they follow the community borders, not necessarily the battalion ones, which is a good thing because, again, it cross-pollinates different projects, and I think it curtails the needs for highlighting and prioritizing projects within those community boundaries or geographic boundaries or topographic boundaries. It really doesn't have a rigid framework as to how and why we prioritize projects, except for exactly that, what's important, what needs to get done. So right now, what we're seeing in the division mostly is we're trying to pick up a lot of the projects that were either left or residual fuel that has been either piled or created in the last summertime or last spring. So right now in Berryessa Highlands, we're taking care of, I think it's approximately 400 to 500 piles. That enhances a bulldozer line that we put in or have been putting in over the last couple of years. So that's the focus of the crews, at least up here in Lake Berryessa. And then beyond that, we're also ramping up all of our prescribed fire at a grander scale on the state side. So that's usually typically when the weather's more favorable to burn light flashy fuels. And that's typically in the springtime before fire season. But yeah, right now we're focusing on what we can get done, and then obviously looking at prioritizing projects, developing fire safe councils, and looking at CWPPs and trying to get that stuff signed off as well.
I have a question. So why is Deer Park in Unit 16 with down south more when we're not in Unit 14, which is more in our area?
Yeah, that slide is unfortunately not quite correct. It is actually Unit 14 with should be there with England in Calistoga.
Okay, thank you.
We'll get that updated. Thank you.
And we have a meeting next week where we're talking about trying to begin in the incipient stages of developing another fire safe council on the north end of Berryessa as well. So that's one of those things is trying to make active places that haven't actually been touched yet was for fire safe councils. So that's another development, at least in my area.
That's correct. Thank you for mentioning that. We are continuing to develop new areas across the county where fire safe councils aren't currently active. And as all of you know, we work closely with our battalion chiefs along with our fire marshal and fire administrator to engage with the communities to start having those discussions about how a fire safe council can make a difference. And we do name drop all of you fire safe councils and leads as well for people to connect with you and find out a little bit more about it. So just knowing that they're joining a community and they're not going to be out there on their own, I think really is helpful. And Napa County has an incredibly strong organization of fire safe councils.
I have one other question. So why is like Angwin and Calistoga and Prince for 15 and over in Mount Veeder it's 14? What does all of that mean?
And I apologize because I don't think Jason Freyer has not seen this slide. What Sherry and I did is we looked at the mapping across all of the fire safe councils and looked at that with the units to try and map out. Again, our fire safe councils don't necessarily match up exactly either into the battalion units or with our board of supervisors. So we have several fire safe councils where there is more than one district. So what we did is when we looked at these, we said, who is the primary? And then if there was a secondary area, so if part of a fire safe council was covered by more than one battalion unit, we added the secondary one in parentheses. So for example, Angwin was primarily in Unit 14 when we looked at it, but it also had a piece that was over in Unit 15. So that's where we have just so that people would have an understanding, because we've had some questions before about who were their contacts. And we thought it'd be helpful to just lay this out so people would have an understanding that the whole county is covered by 3 different units. And you may hear from all of these different battalion chiefs, but it might be helpful to know who is assigned or primarily assigned to your area.
Thank you. It just clears it up for me because I know nothing.
Yeah, and when it comes to my 5 other partners, we tend to intermingle frequently and tend to be more of a plug and play for each other. So if one of us is off duty, then the others would tend to come in and fill in for us. So we might not be able to speak exactly to the project or to that unit, but we could definitely find the answer and within a short phone call or some fact finding, get what you guys need. So we tend to back each other up whenever we can.
Are there any other questions from all of you? Otherwise, we will move. I think next on our list was, I want to say, Deputy Fire Marshal Erick Hernandez.
Yes, thank you so much, everybody. Yes, can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Just fine.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Lori and Sherry, again for putting this monthly meeting together. We appreciate you guys, and we appreciate all of you guys for being a part of the Fire Safe Councils. Just something that I want to share. The first week, I believe it was on the 9th, the first week of January, I joined the Diamond Mountain Fire Safe Council meeting, and there was an interest in doing some, some training with the Fire Chief Council leads as far as defensible space, and just talk a little bit more on what the requirements are and in-person training. So I just got an email today from Charles Krug Winery, and I'm going to be putting together a training just specifically for Fire Chief Councils in February. So I think it's going to be either the 16th or the 17th. And the idea is to bring all of you to Charles Krug Winery. There's no cost. The idea is do a Q&A and talk a little bit about the Zone 0 requirements that are coming up. We're making modifications to our defensible space guidelines as well. So it's a day of me meeting with all of you and giving an opportunity for you guys to answer your questions in person, and at the same time do some training so that you guys can take that information back to your respected communities and keep sharing the information. So what I'll do is, once I have the flyer, it'll be tomorrow, I'll send it over to Lori and Sherry so they can share it with all of you. And I encourage you to come out. It's not going to be an all-day class. It's going to be, I'm thinking about 2 to 3 hours tops. And yeah, that's all we're doing.
Yay. Eric, will you
That's
be
all
covered? I have a quick
Go ahead.
question. Will this be for doing so that our Fire Safe Council leads can work with their Fire Safe Councils to do defensible space evaluations in their community, like for Zone 0 or other items?
Yeah. So the way that I look at it is, if I'm able to bring that information to you and you guys do your own inspections within your Fire Chief Councils, that actually works out very well, because that just means that when I come out and my team comes out of defensible space inspectors in the spring and the summer, that just means that everybody's ready to go. So more information, and that's what we want. If you can get that with your community and identify those areas where they're in need of some projects, by the time we get there, because you've already done a pre-inspection or an inspection, once we come out, that's one less notice of violation that we have to issue, and we're issuing certificates. And more importantly, people are prepared and they're compliant. Any other questions?
Eric, how soon? This is Glenn up in Soda Canyon. How are you? How soon do you think you'll be starting to do inspections, or that people can call to request one?
Okay. So we're always doing, as of right now, I'm just doing consultation. I've been modifying the guidelines. Right now, I can only do consultations. I'm not issuing any notices right now. However, the official time when we're going to come out and is going to be, and our program really is going to kick off, is going to be sometime in mid or end of April. It's all weather dependent. But right now, I'll share with you the same information that I shared with the Diamond Mountain, and I have 2 emails that I have to reply to. If this is your time to reach out to me, I will personally come out right now and in the next few weeks. And my goal is to basically identify areas where you need to do some work, so that once we start officially inspecting, you're ready to go. And I'm not issuing notices right now.
All right, thanks. I appreciate it. I'll reach out to you separately. I'm going to have you come up in the next couple weeks when it's good for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's all the information that I have. Any other questions for me?
Appreciate everything you're doing.
Thank you. Likewise.
It looks like there's a question from Paul Kinsey in the chat. Oops, just lost it here. Sorry.
Yeah, no, is there training available?
I'm sorry?
I mean, is there training? You mentioned about pre-inspections. Is there training available for Firewise members to guide people on the inspection process?
Yes. So the training that I'm going to be hosting at Charles Krug Winery on the 16th or the 17th of February, that's what that's going to be for. The training is to teach you basically how to conduct an inspection within your respective fire shift councils. Now, it's not an official, right? Because we still have to go out there. However, there's nothing that prohibits you from working with your neighbors and doing those inspections.
Great.
So
Thank
yes,
you very-
that's the training.
Yeah, thank you. That's the 16th and 17th at Charles Krug. Thank you.
Yeah, I have to look for, it's going to be one of those days. I have to look at my calendar and I have to work out some logistics, but by the end of the day tomorrow, I will have the flyer, the date, and the time ready, and I'll send it over to Lori and Sherry, and so they can send it out to you guys.
Thank you very much.
Perfect.
No, thank you. All credit goes to Diamond Mountain Fire Chief Council because it's their idea.
Thanks, Eric. That'll be great.
Sorry, Piper.
Well, it's been something we know that the community has been asking for, is to have evaluations from their neighbors to get someone out. Maybe they're not comfortable with having someone yet from the county or want to just ask a lot of questions. So having our fire safe councils take on that educational role and an advocacy role in the community, I think there's a real need. And so I really appreciate you, Eric, making that available. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
If there's no further questions, we'll hand it over to JR, our fire administrator, for updates.
Good evening, everybody. Good to see some smiling faces, especially my good friend Rich Goss over there. We're looking forward to our chipping season starting up here in April. I think there's a slide associated with that. And the plan is to do very similar to what we did last year, and that is to kind of work our way around the county in blocks, focusing on specific areas for generally about a week at a time as we kind of work our way through, and then do the first come, first serve application process as well. The initial plan was to start the that first week of April there. We are likely pushing it back 1 week. So if you see this slide here, this is kind of a newer thing that's come up in the last few days. We're probably pushing it back 1 week. The second I have that kind of finalized, I'll get that out to Lori, who will kick it out to the team here. But as we're kind of sort of flexing some of our extra help personnel, that's probably what we'll end up doing. We are going to scale back our crews just a little bit this year. Last year, not a lot of demand on the program compared to years past. In fact, it was quite a bit lower than years past. So we do still intend to have the program, very supportive of the program. I'm just going to try and right size it for the demand that is out there and be fiscally responsible. Of course, things take a lot longer to grow back. So, a lot of our frequent flyers, as we call them, maybe having less to do because they've taken care of a lot of things in their property, which is great. But definitely encourage you to put out to your fire shift councils, to your neighbors, to remind them that now's the time to get those piles ready to go, to get them kind of teed up. So once the program opens, we can come out and chip them and take care of that. So looking forward to another good year of the chipping program. And like I said, once I kind of finalize and land the dates here, we'll get that out. Should be able to do that next week. The only other thing I'll mention is still working away on our commitment this year for fuels reduction projects. As I mentioned in the past, all the projects we're working on this year are in the maintenance phase. So we're looking at projects that were done 5 and 6 years ago, primarily in the Dry Creek and Howe Mountain area. Currently up on Dry Creek Road, some of you have seen a lot of good work happening on Howe Mountain Road, Deer Park Road. It's actually really cool to see the connector between 29 and Silverado Trail on Deer Park Road getting opened up. It just looks absolutely stunning there next to Krug Winery. And quite a few more roads, of course, happening in the spring as we kind of get spun up and get going here into the construction season. Starting to look towards next fiscal year again. We're focusing primarily on maintenance projects. So once we kind of get that list sorted out, and of course get through our budget cycle, we'll start to release those roadside projects and what's going on there. The last thing I'll mention, just as rather of an update, is we did apply for the 2025 Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. It at the moment appears to be the last one that California will be receiving, as it was already allocated prior to a lot of the federal cutbacks, and was a program that was difficult to make disappear, if you will. So the project that we've submitted for is the Berryessa Highlands project. That is basically a recovery of one of the projects that we lost as a part of the BRIC program. So currently going through request for information phases for anyone that's ever done a federal grant. They're exhausting, and the request for information is even more exhausting. And for some reason, this one's been 10 times more so. So we're slogging our way through that, and hopefully that results in a reward for an award for us sometime in the future. So that's what I got. Happy to answer any questions.
Appreciate it, JR. Good.
Apparently, I was more succinct than Erick Hernandez with no questions. I'll take it.
Thanks, JR. And as JR said, when we have the updated calendar from him, I'll make sure that I get that out to everyone. So thank you. And then we can start, scheduling cleanup days. And just as a reminder, JR, these dates are just to allocate to that area, but it'll open up. People can throughout the year up until November, regardless of their week, go ahead and schedule chipping.
Absolutely.
I kind of have a question, JR. So I just want to let all the Fire Safe Council leads know that we're going to be reaching out for landowner permissions for the HMGP surveys, biosurveys. And we have quite a bit of data already, but if we get stuck and we need help, we're going to be reaching out to you guys. So, and it's a little different LOA than usual. It's not a Napa Firewise LOA, it's a Napa County LOA. Do you have any words of wisdom about that, JR, so we all know what's going on?
Oh, sure. So Steve's referring to our 2022 Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. That one has 5 different polygons between basically in the glass fire tubs, fire footprints. So over in the Calistoga area, foothill areas, petrified forest, there's one project over in Berryessa Estates. Yeah, because it is a federal grant that has been awarded to the county, the landowner agreements do have to be slightly different. And so, yeah, we're having to go after some new ones and can't use the ones that NCFF has already acquired for other projects. But as far as tips and things of that nature, I think it's well worth people understanding that, this is just an extension of a lot of the projects that we've been doing, a lot of the great work that we've been doing. And no different. It's just the funding mechanism is, of the federal nature. And so things are slightly different as far as our access agreement having to be with the county. So I'm not sure that's really necessarily any more different than that. We're excited to get out there and get a lot of this work done and sort of diversify our funds, getting not only from the feds, the state, and us as well.
Well, thank you, JR. And for those of you that didn't know, though, it's about 10 times more behind the scenes work than county work. So next time you see JR, shake his hand.
Hey, JR, real quick, I have a quick question in that regard. Is that through BLM, or what federal entity do we work through to get that?
So the HMGP grants are actually it's It's a hazard mitigation grant through FEMA, ultimately routed through Cal OES. So we're a subrecipient of Cal OES for both of the HMGP grants. So they apply as a whole state to get a tranche of money, and then we apply to them for, you know, our little projects.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thanks so much, JR. With that, I would love to now turn it over to Sheriff Oscar Ortiz. I know that we spend a lot of time on these calls talking about wildfire preparedness and mitigation and managing fuels, but in every single one of our CWPPs and in most, I think, also your Firewise USA applications, evacuation planning is top of mind and something we discuss as well. And so Sheriff Ortiz has kindly agreed to join us this evening to make himself available to all of you to get to talk through resources, tools, and answer questions. So please join me in welcoming Sheriff Oscar Ortiz. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you. And can you guys hear me okay?
Great.
Thank you for having me. I get this question a lot, and I think it's good to, I do a lot of town halls with different supervisors and kind of explain kind of what the evacuation decision making looks like and what we have in place when we got to execute evacuations. Unfortunately, we're pretty rehearsed at it. We've been at it for several years now. Again, unfortunately, but I think it's better to the soundbite I will give you that I've given time and time again at different town halls is there's really two kinds of evacuations. And one of them really is not an evacuation. I would describe it better as fleeing fire, right? But that is the both sides of the road are on fire, embers are going across your windshield, and you're fleeing fire. There's really in the heat of battle to get out of there and get resources in. There really is not a realistic plan for that because we don't know what kind of fire that we don't have the resources in place to execute a good orderly plan. It's just a routine night if there is such a thing. And I remember working that night in 2017, and then all of a sudden we get our what's handed to us because this explosion of fire happened. And in a perfect world we have 50 deputy sheriffs on duty all the time, but obviously that's not realistic. So we have 5 or 6 deputy sheriffs, and then we can rely on our city partners, Helena, Calistoga, and Napa, and they immediately help. And then as the thing expands, we bring in more resources, as you've all seen. We bring CHP and officers from all over California, and then we have many situations where we can actually execute a plan. So it's not fleeing fire. We have as the fire is enveloping, and we make decisions to evacuate communities. We make those decisions based on the resources we have. We put a plan in place. We have 30 cops for this for Calistoga. We're going to evacuate Calistoga. These are the intersections we're going to put control points on. This is where we're going to push cars through. This is the traffic flow is going to look like, and all that obviously is going to depend on the resources we have. So if we have an infinite number of resources because we're 5-6 days into the fire and we have all kinds of mutual aid and law enforcement here, we can execute a really smooth plan. And if we have less than that, we can certainly tailor it to still plan it in phases. Maybe this side of the road gets evacuated first, the north part, the south part. So it's really going to be tailored. I think a lot of times people want to see a playbook. So we're going to do A, then B, then C, then D. And an old military maxim is no plan survives first contact. So really the training and what I want to paint for you is what fire season looks like for us on the police department, on the sheriff's office side. When a wildland fire breaks out, our field supervisors, even if we're not requested, our sergeants is the rank that I'm speaking of, will immediately go to wherever that fire is being managed out of. So they'll go to to meet up with their counterpart from the fire service, be it a captain or a battalion chief, and immediately check in as they're putting out the fire or doing suppression efforts. Oftentimes, fortunately, because we do have and don't tell anybody I said this, but we do have the varsity when it comes to firefighting and fire suppression. I mean, we're the envy of the rest of the country when it comes to Cal Fire. They're very good at their job. I'm not going to repeat that, so don't record me. Oh, too late. You guys already recorded me. They're very good at what they do. Our sergeant will immediately check in with his counterpart from the firefighter side and just check in. And oftentimes the answer he gets like, yeah, we'll have this out in another. We're going to be here mopping up, but we're good. Like this is looking pretty good. And then the sergeant can drive away. Also, oftentimes, like, yeah, we got some low humidity and we got some winds. This one, we think we can get our arms around it, but this one's getting a little hairy, right? And then there's some decision making because our fire partners don't know how many cops we have working. So those two heads come together, and the conversation can look like that. Well, how many cops? Well, I only got three, or I got eight, or whatever it is. And then it's like, okay, I think we can hold off because we don't really want to evacuate unless we absolutely have to. So those decisions are based on the resources we have, the forecasts of the weather, the fuels, the terrain, all the fire intel that they have that we don't have. Those two brains come together, and then a decision is made. We're going to do a warning, or we're going to do a mandatory order. One of the factors that goes in that decision too is the communities we're talking about, because every community has its own personality, as all of you know. So it could be something like, for this community, we probably need to just pull the trigger and do an evacuation, because they're probably self-evacuating already. They're very antsy. This is the kind of community that's really worried about being caught on the mountain or it's a one-way road or some other limitation. Other times it's like, well, we can evacuate, but they always refuse anyway, and there's a lot of different vegetation there, so we can hold off before we evacuate. So all these factors go into this decision matrix, and then those two ultimately put their heads together, and the decision is made if we're going to do orders or warnings, and then the messaging. How we deliver that messaging to our community for an evacuation, and hopefully everybody on this call knows, our primary first go-to is our patrol cars going, driveway to driveway, door to door, running the high-low siren, that European car chasing through Paris siren, but not just running the siren, getting out of their patrol car, running up to the front steps, knocking on the door, making contact with whoever's home, and telling them they're now under an evacuation order. And again, I'm not talking about a fleeing fire evacuation that's chaotic. I'm talking about something a little more orderly, so that people have time to load up their car, get their medicines, and get out. So we have the high-low siren. We put emergency messaging in through text messages through the Everbridge system, which people can sign up through everyday.napacounty.gov. And we also use social media and traditional media. People still watch television, so we might interrupt, the favorite episode of the sitcom or the news network to do an evacuation. So we have different ways to do mass technology communications. We have high-low, but really at the end of the day, it's boots on the ground, knocking on doors, telling people they need to get out. And then if we have the resources, we can get a lot of people out of an area really fast because we can control intersections, close roads, and wave cars through, control traffic, and really push a lot of cars through a different community. We ask folks to work with us on that. My promise to communities when I go to town halls is we will do an evacuation if it's the right decision to make, and we will not extend that evacuation. We will work hard with our fire partners to lift that evacuation and get people back in their houses as soon as possible. In the last few fires, it's been kind of groundbreaking what we've done, because historically, I've been doing this for a long time. Historically, if we do an evacuation order, and then things get better, we go from order to no evacuation at all. We just repopulate. We never used to do downgrade from an order to a warning. And the theory was, if you do an order and then things get better, it's like, well, let's downgrade it to a warning. That means people can go home, but they need to still be ready to go because they're still under a warning. And then you have to evacuate them again. They're not going to leave because I just got home. I'm not leaving again. And so the theory was, if you downgrade to a warning, you're going to have a problem on your hand. In the last probably 5 years now, we've done that successfully multiple times, where we've been able to downgrade from an order to a warning. And knock on wood, we haven't had to re-evacuate, so we haven't really tested it. But I have a lot of confidence in especially some of our communities. I'm thinking of, I don't know if anybody from Angwin is on here, but specifically Angwin is pretty large populated area for a mountain community. There's a lot of people there and unincorporated, and they're really good about evacuating. And they're always kind of ready. They got their bag ready. And they don't refuse. And then our agency, once we can get the resources in place, we can work on if people need to go back in there to get their medicines or pick up if they forgot their pet or weren't able to grab their pet. We had the 2020 fire. We lovingly called it Operation 4-H because we had deputy sheriffs at Deer Park Road that were assigned to go up to Angwin and water the goats and the geese and the chickens while people were away from their homes. So we just called it Operation 4-H, kind of as the tongue in cheek. So we partner well with that community and all our communities. We know our folks in Pope Valley, or a lot of them are volunteer firefighters, and they say, "Okay, thanks for the evacuation, Sheriff."